sweet, precious friend. And she's just as beautiful on the inside as she is on the outside.
Thank you, darling. I'm so lucky to be here. So, yes, I'll sit over there if I don't fall off the stage. No, I have my walking shoes on tonight. I know they don't match. I'm sorry about that, ladies. But I did wear a pink dress.
Well, I want you just to tell them a little bit about you, because if you weren't here last year, you might not know. And just tell us a little bit about what you do.
Okay.
And,
so I am an intimacy sex therapist. However, I work for Fox, and I have a contract with Fox. And so they said, for the purpose of Fox, you are not a sex therapist. You are a family therapist. So I'm a family therapist. But I do specialize in relationships, and I have a private practice 2 half days a week, because most of my work now is with media, and I write. I have 2 segments a week. They pay that for me. And the first one, like on Monday, I'm going to talk about our parents to blame for children's misbehavior. So I just wrote an article about that, and I'll talk about that on air. And then on Thursdays, I do this segment called Ask MaryJo. And it can be about your relationship, about work, about your brothers and sisters, about your parents. I go out into the community, and I just go up to people and say, hey, do you have a question for MaryJo? And because they see me, they're like, yeah, I do, but I look bad today. So can I put my makeup on? The guys are cool, because the guys are like, well, I guess I could come up with something. So I'm hoping I'll get a couple from this audience to actually take back with me. So you guys will be on air on Fox 26, and you can go to online and see it too. But the main reason I'm here is what Donna told you. I worked here my husband was the chair of dermatology, and he basically came out here wanting to be the chair. He got that assignment. And so he was at Texas Tech. And when I first moved here, we had 2 small children, and Serena was 5. We moved here in 93, and we left in 2003, right after my cerebral aneurysm, because Lubbock didn't want me to go. And at the time, I was working at the cancer center, the Southwest Cancer Center. And I went to more funerals and went to Rest Haven almost every weekend. And I used to tell one of my best friends here, I don't think I'm ever going to leave Lubbock. I think I'm going to stay at Rest Haven. And it almost happened, quite seriously. I was at the gym, and I was working out, and all of a sudden I felt like I felt like I was stabbed in the back of my neck. And all of a sudden I thought, what is that? Because I couldn't see my eyes. All I could do was see out of pinholes in the side of my eyes, and it sounded like I was underwater. And so I thought, what is happening to me? Because as Donna told you, I was a nurse before this happened. And but I'd gone back, and now I was a psychologist. So I kept thinking somehow the machine I was on broke my neck, because the pain was so severe in my neck. And then I thought, well, maybe I'm just having like a vasovagal. So I stood up, and I could barely walk. I walked over to the bubbler, and when I went to push the lever down, this hand and this leg just started like uncontrollably convulsing. So I went, oh my gosh, something's wrong with my spine, like my brain. So I just laid down, and from there they took me in an ambulance, and I was bleeding. And my blood pressure when the EMS came was like 220 over 140, or it was outrageous. And I said to the guy, I keep smelling blood. And I said, am I bleeding? And he said, you're not bleeding on the outside, but you are in the head. And sure enough, it was a cerebral aneurysm. And my problem was, most of the time, if you have these, people die from these, of course, but mine wouldn't stop bleeding. So it just kept leaking more blood. And I am a true miracle. Because I am not supposed to be here. The neurosurgeons were as God would have it, so it would be more miraculous. There were no neurosurgeons in town. They were all at a convention in Santa Fe. And so they tried to tell my husband, we think it's a good idea to board her on a Learjet and fly her to Dallas, because they have an expert there that he could take care of her. And the neurosurgeon that told my husband this was one of the guys that was taking call, and he had known Ron when Ron worked there, which Ron had already moved on to MD Anderson to take that chairmanship. And anyway, so Ron said, well, what do you think her chances are? And he said, I think she's going to die. And Ron said, well, can we both go on the jet, on the Learjet? And he said, no, you can't. It won't take your weight. So you'd have to fly her by herself. And we had a pact in our marriage. My husband's kind of afraid of me. He's always been this way. I don't really think he's afraid, but he's very respectful. And I made him once say, Ron, because I learned from working with the cancer patients that I know my biggest fear is dying alone. It's most people's biggest fear, but for me, I always said, you have to promise me, no matter what, that you will be with me, and I will be there for you. We will make this pact. And so he believed that, and so did I, and he said, I just can't let her be alone. And the neurosurgeon said, well, I'll tell you what, if she's alive by tomorrow morning, then we'll proceed and we'll just go ahead and tell the neurosurgeons, we'll make a call to one of them in Santa Fe. Because at that time, they really did not think I would make it. But I did.
And yes, praise the Lord. And she's really making a difference. And I think that's one of the things that I so much love about you is when you survive something like that and you come back to life, you're changed.
Yes.
And you're such a lover of people. And I think that's why I love you so much. Because I love how you connect and you're very personable. Which, when she was here last time, she encouraged you. She gave you her website, her email. Email me questions if you have something specific that I can help you with. And from what I understand, she did get a lot of email questions.
Yes, and they were very personal, which I really respect, you guys, because if it were me, if it were reversed, I always think, would I actually trust a psychologist that I just met to email? And you can get hacky, you can get people to hack into email. And we live in such a social media scary time. But, with the goodness of God, you guys emailed me. And I felt like I was doing therapy for 6 months after the talk, which is exactly what I want to do. And I'm hoping that you all are here tonight. Very seldom do you get a chance to sit down with a psychologist, enjoy dinner, and then a sex therapist too. What a benefit. And you can ask that therapist anything. You don't have to worry about a stupid question because there is no such thing. Any question is a good question. And since I do charge in my office, it's an opportunity you're helping me too, because I want to give back. I want to continue teaching, and I want to continue giving. God basically said, have you ever loved like you've been loved here? Well, the answer is no. And in fact, no matter how much we love, it is not God's love. It's different, you guys. I didn't want to come back. I was very depressed when I came back, which is really something everybody should understand. It is better there than it is here. And I always, now when I go to funerals, I know I feel sad about the person who is going to be buried, but at the same time, I know where they are. And it is pretty fantastic. I mean, it's like having real money with God or a fake, monopoly money here. But we just don't get it. We don't, this is what we know.
Yeah.
So
that's good. Well, one of the things that I want to kind of just bring
Yes.
up, because I've been scouring her website. I mean, I love it. I love her articles. I love her podcast. I love her Ask Mary Jo questions, which like 10 or 12 of the people in our church have been on.
You guys have been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, you have really helped me teach other people.
Well, it's been really fun. And she's also going to do that again, maybe at the end of this evening. If you have a question, come up and find me, or even her,
Yes.
and we will video you. She'll tell you exactly what to say, but it's cool. But anyway, I just found it interesting because some of the questions that were asked last year had to do with emotional issues and emotional abuse, possibly. And I read an article that you had written on your website. I think it was 7 signs of an emotional abuser.
Yes.
And it just interested me. I mean, I was interested in it. So I clicked it on and I read it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I felt so educated. And I started realizing that we have emotional abusers in our life. Whether it's a coworker or a boss or a spouse or even a child can emotionally abuse a parent.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, the thing about this is Serena is on my team. Serena is my main team person. And we started just putting out, like, what do you need more help with? What do you need? What do you want to know? What's going to help enrich your life? And we got so many questions asking this. I don't really know if I'm in an abusive relationship. Like, I feel bad. My partner accuses me of being too sensitive. How many of you in the room have been accused of being too sensitive? Quite a few of you, and quite a few of us. Now, let me just tell you about that. There is such a thing as having, like wearing your sleeves, like wearing your emotions on your sleeve. And these people react to everything. They're reacting. But being too sensitive that's different. When someone accuses you of being too sensitive, I would ask them, what does that mean? Do they mean, are you too reactive? There is such a thing as too reactive. But you cannot be too sensitive. It's impossible. If you can be more sensitive than the person telling you you're too sensitive, but you can't be too sensitive. You can be overreacting, but no one is too sensitive. And what happens is when you are being abused, emotionally abused, that abuser is so good about being able to control you that their whole vendetta or their whole mission is to make you feel bad about yourself. In other words, they don't ever want you to feel joy. If you get happy about something, it makes them on edge. And so they have to find a way to say something to bring you back down. Sometimes your emotional abuser is someone very close to you. And we see this a lot. If you were raised in a family where maybe your parents were critical, or they modeled for you, maybe your mother or your father were emotionally abused, you'll look for that when you start your own family. And what usually will happen is the person who's being emotionally abused will try to make excuses for the person abusing them. They do this because they have to live with this. And you can't live with something that's in such a conflict in your mind, like you're saying, why would this person continually hurt me? And if you stay there and continually let them do that, then basically you're trying to defend why. And so you will defend it in front of your friends. Emotional abusers will basically, they want you under their control. They want you to feel like you can't make a move without them. They want to make you feel like you'd be nothing without them. They want you totally dependent on them emotionally. They want you to feel badly about yourself so that you will appreciate them more. And they don't want you to be close to anyone else, particularly anyone who loves you and is going to love on you. So as someone who is, if you're having an emotionally abusive friend, think of who your most loving people are. Who are the people you get the most comfort from? That's going to irritate a person who is emotionally abusive. They'll find something to pick about that person.
So would you say that an emotional abuser can make you feel like you're not good enough?
Yes, always. That's what they need to do. And they don't want you to find joy. They want to provide the joy. So once in a while, an emotional abuser will do something really nice for you. But then they don't just do it and are grateful they did it. They keep pointing it out to you. Remember, I did that. Remember when I did that? Because they constantly want that in your mind. And that's why it goes in line with why many women especially will stay with an abusive person, because they've already made them feel so bad about themselves.
Wow. So what would you encourage somebody to do who is in an abusive relationship?
Right. Well, and that's a good question, because most of the time, in their heart of hearts, they know it, but they've covered it up so much. So they need one person at least that they can count on. And that's usually comes in the line of a friend or someone in the family who says, listen, I know you adore this person. You're married to him or you're close to him, but I want you to know I don't like some of the things I see. You can't pick on the abuser very much, because you'll start the person you're trying to help into a defending stance, and you don't want to do that. You just want to open the door and say, I am here for you. If you're ever hurting or sad, I want you to know you can count on me, because I see things that worry me, but I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to, it's not that he's a bad person. I just don't like some of the things he or she says. And if it's in the case of their children, then you sometimes have to get even more direct and like, you know what? I'm going to come over. Do you want me to talk to him? And if you will interject yourself into that, they usually will let you do that. But be careful, because the most dangerous place to be is when you intervene in emotional or domestic abuse, no matter who the abuser is. Wow. I mean, the police department will tell you that. And that happens in churches and all over. Basically, an emotional abuser doesn't care what you do. Wow. They're very far away from that. They just want to look good in your eyes. So many times I'll tell the person they're crazy too. Oh, yeah. But if once the person, like let's say if it's someone being abused and you've opened that door, when they call you, be gentle. The first thing you want to do is say, let's make a plan, because you want to get them out of there.
Okay. Would you say that an emotional abuser likes to blame you for their actions or addictions, or is that
always they're always going to find the reason that you are bad. They basically do not want you to be happy. And so in the beginning they're charming, because their whole idea is I've got to isolate them first. They can't do anything if you're connected. So if you have a close family, they're probably going to figure it out fairly soon, unless you're so madly in love with them that you go along with it and break away from your family. If you leave your family, that's step one that you shouldn't do.
Okay. That kind of leads me to a question. say, since there's mostly women in here,
Yes.
if the woman says, my marriage needs help.
Yes.
I want to go to counseling, but he does not want to go. Would you encourage her to still go, or?
Yes. In fact, the American Marital Society just came out with new stats about that. If one person goes to therapy, it was as effective as if both of them went, the joint couple. But this is what it relied on. It was better if only the woman went. If only the guy went, it was not effective. And this is why they thought that was. Women were better about listening to the therapist and coming back and telling the partner exactly what they need to do. Like if you come into therapy with me, you're going to get homework. And then I'm like, do not make another appointment till your homework is done. And so it might take 3-4 weeks. But I don't care. I mean, basically it's up to them. I want them to do the homework. The wife was better at coming home and telling him what he had to do. The man, when he went to therapy alone, he got lost in all the words because therapists use a lot of words. Women use a lot of words. So when he went home to tell her what to do, he took it out of context and he was very direct with like, you're supposed to wash the dishes more. And I'm gonna help with the kids at night. And she's like, what? This sounds like just what we have right now. This is not gonna work. And so it just wasn't as effective. And plus they didn't think the guy bonded with the concept. Although women initiate the majority of divorces.
Really?
And in therapy, this is surprising. When couples come in, the man is the one who is desperate to fix the marriage in the majority of cases. The woman at that point is like, I can take it or leave it. I mean, I'm always surprised, like, what is wrong with you? Like, this is your marriage. But it's really true.
I noticed one of the things that when I was on your website today, you said, this is kind of totally off my notes.
Right.
But I thought it was interesting. You said when there's been an affair in a marriage, the wife is more apt to forgive the husband, but the husband is not as quick to forgive the wife. Why is that? I don't.
And that is particularly if it's sex involved, because men have it's a stereotype. Boys will be boys, and there's a lot of women who think every man cheats, and they raise their kids just saying, you know what? This is what men do. And I've never heard of such a thing, but couples tell me all the time, men do this. But you know what is interesting about that? If the woman cheats, it's such a taboo against her. But at the same time, we know in my practice, I have more women cheating than men. And the men are the ones that come into the marriage and say, listen, I'm willing to try and put this back together. If men have children, they will do anything to save that marriage usually.
Why do you see that more women cheat than men?
Because women in our society, we have women, first of all, when they fill out those surveys, it's never honest because women know there's more of a taboo for them if they were cheating. If you're a cheating woman, nobody will find out about it. If you're a cheating man, you're going to get caught. And I mean, you just are. Women, we know. It's like, why are you telling me that? Like, I know. And plus, men aren't as good at hiding it because they always have this back part that says, yeah, but guys will be guys. And, cheating happens. And in all of our literature, it looks like guys cheat more than women.
That's not true.
No.
Wow.
That's why if a woman cheats, I think for a guy, if he only knew how common it was, he'd probably forgive her easier. But he can't stand the thought of another man loving her. And women have more support if the guy cheated. From other women, like, oh, honey, it's okay. Guys do that. But if if the woman cheats, it's like, how is he going to comfort? She cheated? Like, I never heard of that. Like, you got a really bad one. You better get rid of this one. And so they don't know what to do. They're like, well, my mother says, you know, because guys listen to their mothers a lot and their dads, but it's interesting.
That's interesting. I had never heard anything like that before. Well, that kind of leads me to a question that somebody submitted. And she said, I'm not attracted to my husband anymore. We get along good, but we have no intimacy or passion. What do I do?
That is a really good question. I think with TV and media, we think you should just continue to feel this zing and want to just like zing all over and jump on stuff. And you guys, real life is not like that. I mean, I'm a sex therapist, but I'm telling more couples, you know, let's put the sex on the side. You guys just need to start talking. 'Cause like, they don't talk at all, and they somehow think, and you know, when you see a couple, you're very, like when you first meet them, I'm like, okay, they're a nice looking couple, but you don't go nuts. Like, I'm never like, wow, she's stunning. But it's interesting because they still see each other that way. So when they say, they'll come into my office, usually the guy, and the guy's like, wait till you meet my wife. Oh, let me tell you, MaryJo, she is a Barbie doll. And I get in my head what a Barbie doll looks like, and I'm like, man, you must have gone young, or I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just thinking a Barbie doll. Okay, I'm waiting for this hot woman. And she comes in, and she's 70 years old, and I'm just like, this is no Barbie doll. But that to him, she is a Barbie doll. And that's what I call passion. So I'm not thinking about you're going to be wild, lustfully in love. I'm thinking intimate-wise, they are connected. And I don't know if you saw that article that is on my website, The Sexless Marriage.
I didn't.
Well, I'm telling you, the millennials, this is kind of taking us on another direction, but I think it's important to talk about this, because if you are a millennial or you have millennial children, the millennials are the least sexual married people that generation we have ever known. And I think the reason is they got overwhelmed with all the porn sites, all the social media. They could have access to that at any time. But guess where they find a lot of excitement? Intimacy. Just going out. You know, the millennials don't really talk. They just text. And so if you get so intimate with someone and you're just looking at them and talking with them, imagine the turn on. And when I was dating, that's all we did. We're just sitting there talking. Is this all we're gonna do for the rest of our lives? Like, I think we're going at opposite ends now. If you want to enhance your marriage and you just want to leave here with a couple pearls, and you want a better sex life, you want a better overall marriage, start touching. There is nothing like touch that will get you more intimate and more connected. In fact, when I was working with the cancer patients, and if one of them got really sick, I remember when they were intubated and in the ICU. I remember when I was in the ICU, I wasn't intubated, but I was in and out. My husband had my hand the whole time. And I remember it. And I've seen when someone is in a coma and the partner coming in and grabbing their arm or getting in the bed and laying with them, you should see the monitors. We are linked. That's how God designed us. You know, how you feel that connection is it's in every cell in your body. Wow. So I would say if you're not attracted to your husband, welcome to marriage. Some days you get up, and I'm serious. I wake up in the morning and I look at my husband and I'm like, how in the heck did you get into my bed? Like, what happened? What drug was I on? What was I taking? Was I smoking? Some days are just like that. And he never says that, but if he were honest, I mean, I have curlers in my hair. I have no makeup. I'm a mess. And he never says that, but I'm just looking at him like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, I know lust, and I know that ain't it. So I wouldn't get too scared about that, but if you resent them or you're repulsed by them, which is sometimes what happens with couples who are having difficulty, they don't say that because they feel so bad about it. But that is, you should be talking to a therapist if that happens. And sometimes if something so hurtful happened to you in a marriage or relationship that you can't get over, you will become resentful. Resentfulness held in turns to repulsion. It is the biggest destroyer of intimacy, of marriage, mostly of trust. Not only trust for them, but trust in yourself, trust in God. And so if you are feeling resentful, you better email me or you better talk to me, please. Or, talk to someone here. There's a lot of good therapists in Lubbock, too.
Wow, that's interesting. Repulsion. Mm-hmm. I've never really heard that word.
Yeah.
But that's really, really interesting.
Well, we talk about resentment, but we don't talk about what happens to resentment if you hold it in.
Mm-hmm. So will that affect your health?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Resentment does too, because for many people, it's an expression of anger. They'll be more angry, and anger is really hard on the heart and all of your cardiac system. It's hard on your tummy. Wow. It's, it raises blood pressure.
Wow, that's interesting. Repulsion. Wow, we're getting a lot of good information. I'm almost going on overload here. I love it. Well, kind of along that line a little bit, someone submitted a question that said, what do you say a wife's greatest need is in the marriage? And how do you encourage your husband to see that need without being a whiny baby?
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, well, whining works, but I guess as a therapist, I shouldn't say that. I love that you brought up one of your symbols of love, the 5 languages of love. Mm-hmm. Because I do like that book a lot by Gary Chapman. And he has, what I got my husband for Christmas, one of his gifts was the languages of love, 5 languages of love for men. Gary Chapman wrote a 5 languages of love for women and a 5 languages of love for men. The one for women is not that good. And when I say that, it's just that it doesn't really do anything other than the 5 languages of love. We get it. But for the men, it's fantastic. Ron's just like, I love this book because it tells him exactly what to do. And he's like, usually they'll just give you these global ideas. But like, I know when he's reading that book because he'll buy me something that I'm just like, oh my goodness, how did you know? Like, what in the world? Why are you doing this? I'm always looking for what he wants. Like, there has to be a reason. It's that book. So I think a woman's greatest need is to be wanted and to be appreciated and to feel like they get a lot of attention. They get the attention they need. Guys, I know, need to be appreciated. And it just really, really, really helps them. They want to feel, they feel like when they're appreciated, that if you want your husband to clean the garage much better than nagging him or whining at him, or to just say, I just really appreciate you. I love the way you work. When you're doing stuff, I see you put your whole heart into it. And then, the way it works best for me is if I say, let's just go out and move a few of these boxes in the garage, and before long, he's so into the rhythm, and then I just disappear, and then I go do what I want to do. But it's like they they need you need to join them. It's an activity that we're going to do together, except I'm always busy once I get into it. But I love that question. I think it's different for different women too. So I meet some women that tell me all they really need is they need to know they're supported. And if you're sick or you have a chronic illness, the number one need for women, this isn't true for men though, is that they feel like they have a teamwork, like their husband shares the load. That is not true for men. Men don't want you to share the load of being ill.
Wow.
So you have to kind of work backwards on that.
That's good, to be valued and appreciated.
Yes.
Yeah. And
get attentive.
Yeah. That's good. Well, here's a really interesting question. How do I deal with people who always think they're right? That irritates me.
Yeah, that irritates.
I wonder who that question was.
Honestly, I think that's a type of person we all run into. Hopefully not over.
We want to run over them.
I'm going to run over you. I'm going to give you a chance, a running start, and then I'm going to take the car out and run over you. I tell you, I've learned not to fuss a lot with this one just in my own life because it takes so much energy. It's easy when you're a therapist because I can just say, listen, because when they come in and they try to help me and they MaryJo now, I know we only have so much time, but I've written down a few things I want my partner to start changing. Working on changing, I'm like, sir, I run the show. You have something to say at home, but in here, you are mine, and I'm going to call. And don't even worry about the time, because I will make sure you're out in an hour, whether you're done or not. So, but when you live with them, it's a lot harder. And people who always want to run the show, or they're always right, you must remember they suffer. They suffer a lot silently because they have this need to be in control, because they're probably managing a free-floating anxiety disorder that is just not talked about, or they are one of those people that they feel like everything is relying on them. So if it's not done right, what they see as right, that it's somehow going to be their fault. People who always are right about everything grew up with really critical, blaming parents. And so they've learned, depending on where they are in their birth order usually, they've learned that the way to get things done right is to take ownership of it and do it yourself. They also don't delegate real well, usually. Yeah. And I think that's the worst part. It's not only are they always right, but they must do everything. And if you say, I'd like to help, yeah, well, they're just not real easy with that.
So there was a question I think on here. I'm not sure. Maybe it was maybe for tomorrow, but that kind of brings me to it. One of the ladies asked, "I'm a control freak."
Yes.
And how do I overcome that?
All control freaks have one messy area, though. The key is to find that messy area. And then you can work backwards. One of my jobs is I work with bariatric patients. Do you all know what that is? If you're struggling with weight and you haven't been able to lose weight, they get a weight loss surgery. And I was on a TV show with it. You might have seen it, Big Medicine. It was with TLC. I was a psychologist on the show. These people have a lot of control issues. In fact, if you're struggling with any addiction, and they are, I think it's a food addiction. It's probably sometimes it's a sugar problem, but usually it is like it's their control substance. It's their vice, if you will. They are incredibly controlling. And the reason they have this is because they will control all areas of their life. So guess where they will not control? They will not control what goes into their mouth. And the only part of that they control is they always have it available. If they're going to go, no matter where they go, they have food because it's a vice. It's like somebody who smokes or someone who drinks or anything like that. So if you find a very controlling person, I promise you there's always going to be a messy area. Many times it's their house. Like I have a daughter who is a control freak. But her house, she doesn't care. I'm so relaxed there. I walk in and there's dishes in the sink and you have to kind of walk through laundry on the floor. And I'm like, how do you live like this? It's just the way they are. It's, she's so controlled in other areas. You have to have a release valve.
So when you locate that area, that messy area,
then you can start working on it and just kind of, for one thing, it kind of disarms you. Like, okay, I'm not going to be so hard on them. Like, the control person is trying to put up a front like they have everything under control.
Yeah, that's good.
And if you can just say, listen, this is a messy area and I love you with this. In fact, it makes me feel very comfortable. Then I think it helps them loosen up and come back more to the center. Or you can ask them, like in my controlling patients, I'll say, let's see if we can bring a little bit more of this thing you don't control into the areas you control and vice versa. Because you want to get some of the control back into, like for a food addict, into the food, or the messy person into cleaning up the mess. Mm-hmm. And it also helps them balance the control more.
Interesting. We don't have a whole lot more time, so I'm going to ask one more question, and then I want to open it up for maybe just a couple.
Yeah,
just a couple,
sure.
Just a few. I don't want to go really long, maybe 2 questions, but this kind of makes me think of this control thing. Somebody had asked, how do you run a family business when you and your husband have different ideas, views, and opinions on how things are to run?
Boy, that's a really... Yeah, it can be unless if your values are aligned. It's kind of like what we do in a marriage. It doesn't matter. My husband and I are like day and night in the way we express things, but our values align. So what I would do in that case is I would go back over the brand and I would start at the beginning, like what is the brand? What is the mission? And then I would carefully delineate who's going to cover what territory, because if every business has many legs coming out of it. Choosing which of those arms or legs you're going to run and which ones your husband or your partner's going to run. Keep that business. Don't take that home. I think that's the hard thing with a family business is when you're working together all day, then how do you separate and go home and have that time for the two of you when you're not angry about them for what they did at work?
That's good.
Or punishing each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
Mm-hmm. Because you can go to a place of business and then when you leave and you're like, I have a crazy boss, but you can't do that with your partner. At least you better not, It's difficult. But I think just going back and tightening up who does what in the business.
That's good. I like that answer. One more, and then if you have a question, I'll ask you to stand to your feet, and then I'll have Denise come over to you. This goes along with that one. When my husband makes a decision that I 100% disagree with, how do I respond to him and to the decision?
Well, since you're different people and none of us is alike, and I would hope in my own marriage when we disagree on something so opposite, we pray about it. We try never for one person to make it on their own. The only time I think that I would just go with it, there's some territories, some areas in a marriage that your partner does better. They have a better feel for it. For example, in my marriage, my husband handles the money. He's fantastic at that. I'm terrible. I don't want to handle the money. And so if he decides, I think this is what we should do, if I disagree, I'll usually say, let's wait. Especially, he doesn't do that with my business. My business, I run what I want to do with it. But in our joint, we always kind of wait if one person is really vehemently against it. But if it's going to come down to, I don't know, I'm just really against that, and he's strongly for it, I say, do it. You know better. As long as you're responsible and you're going to take it. With raising kids, I took it. Like, if it came to something we disagreed on, I would veto him. He would say veto me because I have no idea. They're girls. And that's what he panicked about when I almost died. Because he's like, I don't even know how to braid their hair. Like, he was freaking out. And I don't blame him. Yeah. Because I carried that, hands down, I ran that. So I think some things, we have this whole clause, when we get married, we're going to share everything. But the most successful marriages don't do that. The most successful marriages, they very clearly find out quite quickly who is good at what. And they give them that response. Okay, you take care of that, I'll take care of this. But the big things like buying a house or where to put your money, I think that should be talked about, and you should have a say with it. Yeah. But we tell young couples things that aren't true a lot of times. Like, we make it look like everything's 50-50. It's not. It's really not.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Does anybody have a question? We got one back there. I know, about 15 years ago, I had the Lord speak to me, said, you're either a lover or you're a fighter. And I was a fighter for a long time. Yeah. And, it's just not worth it anymore.
No. And, it's true, though. I mean, what do you want to be known for if you think about marriage, besides its sacredness, when you say I do, when you take that vow, think about the depth of that. You are going to die. One of you is going to die first, usually, and that other person is going to be holding you. Think about the incredible impact behind marriage. Do you want to spend that marriage fighting and being bitter, resentful, just looking at your partner and go, man, I could have done better? No, you do not. I mean, if it's not A or B, it's not, we're going to either get along or we're going to get a divorce. Most of marriage is that area that nobody wants to talk about. We got to fix this. Like, how are we we got to work this out. That's where we're failing young couples, I think, so much. Because we're so quick to say, get rid of them. And how did we start that? What did that even run? Where did we get this whole thing that, it's important that I'm happy and I'm not happy, so I'm leaving. Marriage is not supposed to make you happy, guys.
That's good.
It just isn't. Marriage doesn't make anybody happy. Marriage is marriage. It's a lifestyle. You make you happy. And hopefully your happiness and love will make your partner so excited and grateful to be with you that they'll be happy. And then you see them, and you just keep being a reflection of each other. But there are bad days, bad years in there. And I have an article about that too, the bad years of marriage. Because if you've been married for over 5 years, I'm promising you one thing. You're going to hit rough patches if you haven't already.
That's good. You have a lot on your website about marriage, divorce.
Yes.
Yes, I saw a whole section on that. It was really good.
Yeah.
Things to consider before you get a divorce.
Right. Because I know it happens, and sometimes it is for the right reason. You can't live like that. But I see a lot of the kids from divorce, and I'm telling you, in our society, we've kind of, tossed it aside and said, oh, they'll get over it. They're kids. Kids don't get over that. You know, their home is leaving them. Everything they love about their home, they're losing everything. They lose the most.
Yeah. We have a question back there.
Hi, I'm Melissa. My question is for the beginning part of your conversation about the abuse.
Mm-hmm.
I know someone that was in a very abusive relationship for 18 years and she finally got out of it. But even though she's out of it, she's still looking for the same type of man.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to make her see that. Is she still going down the same road?
Melissa, thanks. You know, that is a problem with them. They keep repeating it because she needs to be in a program where they can rebuild her. Basically, now she's without him, and it feels like she's missing something because they beat them down so much emotionally. They make them so low, but then they will give them a treat. They'll overdo it, like the biggest flowers, and oh, I'm sorry, can you, they'll make them feel like $1 million, and that's what keeps the attachment going. And so if you're without any of that, you're like an empty vessel, and there's not even the highs anymore. They basically get the high from dating another person who, when that person treats them badly, they go, oh, I know this is love, because that's their whole perception of love. So if she can find a program or a therapist that will work with her to help her start filling herself up emotionally.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. That's a really good question.
Yeah. I'll take one more question because oh my geez, look at all these ladies. Okay, come back tomorrow. I don't want to keep you guys here too late because I really do want you guys to come back tomorrow and we can take a couple more questions even tomorrow as well.
Yes, I hope so.
Yes, okay.
Hi.
I'm Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
I'm not quite sure exactly how to phrase this question, but this is more on the latter of the conversation. For a blended family, I have a new husband and I have 3 children.
Wow.
And my 3 children are from the first husband of 24 years. How can I make him feel a part of the family, but also continue on the line of the values that I had with the first husband on the way that I'm raising my children? Because the new husband doesn't like the way that I raise my children because they're spoiled.
Oh. Well, you know, Tiffany, the first thing I'll tell you is that blended families have a higher risk of divorce. And the reason is the children. The children are the main issue that come up. So this very thing, so you're really smart to ask a question like this. Blended families, you know, people have an idea of what that will look like. Like, we're all going to get along. It's going to be like the Brady Bunch. That's unrealistic. I mean, basically what you're trying to implement is respect. You're not trying to get anybody to like anybody. You just want everyone to be respectful. So if he says something in front of the children that you think is disrespectful, it's better to bring it up to him when he's alone, not in front of the kids. But it is important to reiterate to the kids and to the whole family. Like, I would say a grace, and I would thank God for getting us all together to be respectful and open to understanding each other. The more is he bringing in children too?
No, he has none.
He's joining you. So there's a lot he'll never be able to understand about you and your children because you had a relationship before him.
Right.
So he's trying to play catch up. And one of the ways they'll do that sometimes is he'll try to pull you back down to where he is, hoping to open your eyes. But in what has to actually happen is all of you have to step back and focus on understanding.
Okay.
It's going to take a long time, Tiffany, okay?
Thank you.
Don't expect too much too soon. Be grateful for the small steps.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
That's
yeah,
great.
Thank you.
That's good. Well, I know it's 9:15, and I know some of these ladies have to get their tables picked up, cleaned up. Can we do one more question? Just one more, okay? Just one more. First person to stand up.
Oh, there's
Okay.
somebody.
Okay. Ladies, we'll take your questions tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of time tomorrow, God willing, and before and after. And Serena and I will be there bright and early.
There it is.
Hi, I'm Dee Dee.
Hi,
And
Dee Dee.
My question is, you were talking earlier about liking your husband and all that. I just want to know, does this sound healthy to you? Me and my husband, we've been married 27 years. We have a blended family, and we are a fabulous blended family. There is hope.
Oh, great.
So my question is, though, about every couple of months, my husband will walk up to me and ask me, you want a divorce? I'm like, no, not today. Okay, me neither. And he walks off. Or we'll start, one of us might start loving or kissing on the other one, and he'll or I will say, I'm just not feeling it today. Why don't you try tomorrow? And we just go our separate ways. And to me, I believe that's a way just to feel when I'm not liking him, and he knows that, or I know it, and it's just a way to understand each other.
I think it's great. I mean, as long as nobody's feelings are getting hurt. I told my husband one day, I'm saying this carefully, I told my husband, because I only saw his profile. There was a weird shadow. It was at nighttime and he was coming into bed. I said, oh my gosh, you look just like E.T. And it made him feel so bad. I mean, I was kind of playing with him and laughing. And then he told me the next day, Mary, that really hurt my feelings. Like, did I look? Because he remembers that phone home, the little belly and the big finger. And I don't know. So, I mean, as long as he's not hurt, I would check it out, though. Because men are very emotional. They don't always tell us. We just assume things. And
Well, it just seems like it works for us, just so everybody you just have those days you don't want him to touch you or you don't want to touch him.
yeah, that's perfectly normal.
It just kind of works for us. And I was just thinking, are we weird?
No, I think it's refreshing, actually. I think it just reiterates the idea that when you're married a long time, and if you have any ideas about rainbows and birds and any other lust stuff you're thinking, it's not going to be that way. And some days, anybody that lives with you all the time is going to tell you the truth. Like, how did this happen? Like, you have to wake up in amazement, like, Lord, really? Like, what was I doing? What? Yeah, and I think I would not tell that to my husband, though. Personally, I wouldn't say, I was just having a bad dream. Like, how did you get in my bed? He would be offended. So you guys use your own, you know your own man. Just saying, be careful.
Well, have y'all been blessed? I feel like I've got some nuggets that I could really go home with, and
I hope so.
I know
Me
we're going to
too.
hit on some more questions tomorrow,
Yes.
and maybe even another topic.
That would be
Yeah.
fantastic. I would like to just remind you all, if you do want to send an email or you are in a situation that's scaring you or you just don't know what to do, you can email me. What you do is go to my website, and it's my name, MaryJo, J-O, Rapini.com. And on that website, there's an area that just says Ask Mary Jo. It comes in through a portal that is safe. It goes only to me. It doesn't go to anybody else. And I get to read it, and I will answer it. So you will know, and then I'll usually follow up. I'll ask you to maybe do something for me, like I'm going to maybe give you an assignment I want you to try, and then let me know how it goes, just so I know you're safe.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let Miss Denise give you a couple quick announcements before we dismiss you. Thank you guys so much for coming, and if you have a question, then come Saturday morning, and we can answer that for you. She can answer that for you. The professional.
Well, Donna, very good.
Let's, did you enjoy Mary Jo tonight? Yes, let's give her a hand. We are so thankful that you've come and shared your love with us and your wisdom and your compassion for people. Aren't you just moved by her compassion for people? I don't know any other person in this profession that would say, just email me and I'm going to just pour into your life. And it's just such a blessing. We're honored for you to be here. Thank you, Miss Donna, for bringing her back to talk to us. Well, do check out her book table right here, back here at the back. Some of the books that we gave away tonight are on that, and then even some others that I think we're going to give away a couple tomorrow, aren't we? So, but those books are back there too. So check out her book table, and the auction is ended. No, how many more minutes do they have tonight? About 15 minutes. So we're looking at 9:35. The auction will be ending tonight, and then we'll start up when you get back here in the morning. So get out there and bid on those items that you have your eye on. And door prizes are going to be given out in the morning, and you must be present to win. So you want to be here in the morning to win a door prize, all right? And what else do I have here? 9:30 a.m. That's when we're going to get started back here in the morning. We are going to have brunch for you in the morning, so come hungry, come happy. I don't know, that sounds like a commercial. Who is it? Dairy Queen or something? McDonald's. She knows McDonald's. If you ever see someone walking in like a boss into the movie theater with food, it would be McDonald's with her. All right, well, again, we just thank you, Mary Jo. What a great night. You guys are dismissed. Hang out. Check out the book table. Check out the auction for the next 15 minutes. Be back here at 9:30 in the morning ready to party again. You are dismissed. Yes.
Before we leave, I'm going to have her take a picture of us sitting here.